We're live. We did it.
We did it. Some troubleshooting.
We did it. We did
I'm
some
an
power
engineer
scaling.
troubleshooting, and we're finally here.
Time zones, man.
Time zones.
I set this for, what time is it there, Joy? In New York?
10 a.m. Eastern.
Okay.
I cannot do time zones. Anytime someone's like, how about this time, like PST, I have to put it in my calendar to make sure, because I've messed it up so many times that it's like something I'm embarrassed about. And I tell people, I'm like, I might get this wrong. For some reason, it's one of those things my brain can't compute.
Yeah, it's actually my Chrome extension because I work with, I should tell you.
You should tell me about that.
And so it's front and center every time I open another tab.
When I was working, at a company, I worked in 2 like European companies, and I would have that like programmed into my calendar where I'd see like time in London, time in Berlin, time in New York. And so then I could easily do it. But now I do work with folks like from West Coast to Europe, and I can't compute. So it's a struggle.
Yeah. Global businesses, I'll say.
Seriously.
Okay. So this is, hey, how was your day? And this is where I ask amazing people like Jori to describe a day in their past, their present, and their future. And it's interesting to see what comes up and what are the threads that we'll uncover in the talk. And I want to introduce Jori, who is a dear friend of mine. We've never even met. We even rarely do video calls like this. This might have been our 3rd or so, which is strange. But we send like maybe 20 voice notes a day.
Minimum.
Yeah. And Jori is a fellow solopreneur, also a coach and consultant. And as some of you know, like it can be really, really lonely to build your business on your own and like want to take up so much space and grow it even bigger. And so I would say Jori is my coworker. When I go on vacation, she's like, how was it? Welcome back. Here's your desk. So I really want to showcase Jori and how wonderful she is. And Jori's background, let me intro you and talk you up. Jori spent over 12 years as a product leader. Like you're easily going to recognize some of these names like AOL, which I spent so much time on with Instant Messenger, Spotify, and is a coach at Cornell Tech as well. And also has a trained dance background, which I recently found out, which might come up, may not. But Jori, I'm so glad that you're here. And I know some date came up to describe your past. Let's kick it off and tell me a little bit about a day sometime in the past.
Yes. First, thank you so much for having me. You are such an amazing coworker to me, and any chance to collaborate with Sarah, I grab at. So thank you for having me. Okay. So my days are very different these days, working as a solopreneur versus working for a company where you have like so much rhythm. But last year I had a day in particular as I started to embark on this journey that kind of like really shifted how I think about structuring my days working for myself. Because when I started, I was bumbling around. I was like taking meetings whenever I wanted and just kind of not necessarily having a routine. And everyone's like, you'll get your routine, you'll figure it out. But I also like the concept of every day is like a little bit different. And there was this one day last February. So like February, cold, dreary, nothing special about it. But I kind of like realized in retrospect at the end of the day, like why it was like so impactful for me. And I kind of reflected on it. And there were 4 things about that day that made it so great. And instead of like having a specific routine of how I like start my day and like the things I do, I try and make sure I have these 4 things every day to have a good day. So they're like the recipe for a good day for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm just like, can you tell me more? What are these 4 things so I can have a magical day?
Yes. So the first one is elements. So, even before working for myself, working remote, I had spent a lot of time inside prior to the pandemic, where I was like going out and walking a lot more and just like interacting, with the world. And so that day in particular, I'd gone for a really, really long walk outside. It wasn't nice outside, but like I got fresh air on my face. There was some element of sun happening. I bundled and I really just experienced the element. And I'm very lucky to like live 20 minutes from the East River, which is not like the nicest body of water in New York, but it's still like a beautiful element kind of driven walk where it's like I get the smells of the water and I get like some sun and fresh air, and I got an ample amount of that.
Yeah, it's very sensory, almost
Very
immersive. Like there's the sight, the smell of it, and it feels expansive, like seeing the water.
And so like, and then there's like the steps of it all, like going on walks, which is not something I really prioritized or realized how much I needed before this day. I mean, everyone says you need like 10,000 steps. I've done the whole Fitbit thing, but I was able to kind of recognize like, wow, being outside and walking for such a distinct amount of time really changed how I felt at the end of the day. So I was like, okay, noted. Elements and all movement is part of that. So like we talked a lot about this. Exercise is really important to me. I grew up dancing and, you know, I've gone to different kinds of exercise classes and gyms and, like getting your heart rate pumping and like really getting into a certain level of activity just, I mean, does something for the brain, like scientifically is a thing. But I didn't prioritize it every day. And I still like, I'm not perfect at it, but I know that if I get that second element movement in, you know, in the best case scenario, like a heart pumping Peloton ride or a strength training class or a dance class, this day in particular, I ended up just dancing in my apartment, like blasting music and like dancing.
What'd you listen to?
Beyonce. It was the Renaissance album, which I'm still not over. I'm trying to like bring Cowboy Carter into my life, but like Renaissance is like, that's who I am. I'm a dance music person. I'm not country, I'm trying. But it was Renaissance, of course. It was like the break. It was like Alien Superstar, like through Break My Soul, like that whole like part of the album.
Such a good song.
Like, but then also like the Heated and some Renaissance of it all. Anyway, it was Renaissance, and it wasn't a class. Like it was by myself, just kind of like dancing. And I was like, holy shit! Like I just feel I feel amazing.
Yeah.
So movement, so elements and movement. I went out for lunch with someone that day. And at that time, I wasn't really prioritizing in-person activity. And I reconnected with my friend, Mallory Houston. Shout out to Mel. She is someone I grew up with. We went to camp together and we just like went out for lunch and we just like spent an hour catching up and seeing someone new and, you know, out of the ordinary for me was like so rejuvenating. And we, you know, we just had a great time, and I was like, wow, like I don't build this into my day. Like just seeing someone different, you know, I'm in front of my computer. I'm just kind of like going about my day. So that third one was in-person connection.
Yeah.
Which
it's interesting. What you're saying of these things of, I know they feel good like afterwards, but it's not necessarily something that I prioritize. So it's interesting. I'll ask you now, is what made this day so special, like February 7th, of like, I'm going to prioritize and do these things?
I didn't realize. That's the beauty of it. I realized at the end of the day, why was today great? And it was elements, movement, in-person connection. And the last one was creativity. I spent time whiteboarding and like thinking about like some business ideas, and it was really fun. And at the end of the day, I was like, what was so great about this day? It was a dreary February day. You know, there wasn't anything monumental, but I realized, wow, if I get those 4 things in, I can have a really good day. And it doesn't have to be like crazy. And so it was in retrospect. It wasn't in planning. But now, and especially like right after that day and the months to follow, I really focused on, can I get at least 2 of those 4 things every day, or 3 of those 4 things every day? Because you can't have a day where you can walk or move or be creative every single day. But if you can aim for like at least 2 or 3 of those, like trending pretty well, you know?
Trending. I like the part about, you know, we live in London, we both lived in New York, and the dreariness of it, of our elements, and having a good day, like an amazing day, it sounds like, in spite of that. and
Yeah.
being like, actually, what can I create? And it doesn't need to be perfect. Now that I know it's these 4 things, like, let's just stay trending.
Yeah. And I think I wanted to highlight that in particular because it wasn't like I went to this like amazing event and like I, saw everyone I love. It was like a quite ordinary day in like May of February. But I made it and realized how great it was because, I created that for myself. And I think sometimes me especially continues to look for the external things to like make us happy and fill us up. And there's a lot that we can do and a lot more power we have than we realize. And base layers when you're living in London or New York, like bustling to get outside is really key. So I credit my husband for making us get base layers for a hiking trip. And I wear them in the winter so that I can still get outside on really shitty days.
Yeah. Shout out to Todd, who was listening, maybe commuting.
Yes.
Is Jori's husband. So base layers. Yeah. Okay, Jori, tell me about your present day. I'm so interested to hear what your day's like.
Yeah. Like today.
Dealer's choice.
Well, I think like in those themes, I really do try and get outside like in the morning and get elements. My husband, my dog and I, we do a family walk in the morning where we just try and like get sun on our face, like go around the block in our little quaint neighborhood in New York. So I do know even when I'm really tired or I don't feel well, that like it's a really good way to start my day. I'll also go to this new gym that I joined, which is a strength training gym, which I haven't done in a really long time. And lifting heavy things has been really powerful for me, as you know. You've done that too. And then like my days today, I love doing in-person stuff like in the morning. So I'm now been organizing events and doing community building for a couple different groups, 2 of which I've started. So I'll often be in the city or sometimes I get to meet clients in person, which is like really, really fun. So I like starting my day with those. And then if I don't have that, I'll go to a coffee shop and like be next to other people my day and working. And then like kind of go from there. So I like I start my day at 10 a.m. So I do have time to get elements and movement in before I actually have to like be on my computer for a lot of the day, which is not ideal. But I have a little bit more of that routine. And then I think about like, how can I get some in-person activity? How can I feel creative? And I kind of go from there because every day is different when you're working for yourself.
Yeah, your face really lit up about the in-person connections. Like, oh, I get to meet people in person, like clients in person.
Yeah.
And then for people who are listening, I'm sure there are a bunch of people who want to be involved in the communities that you've created because they're so special.
Yeah.
What are those? And you recently got VC sponsorship too.
Yeah. So the first one was a Slack community coaching corner. And there was a need, I think, from me to kind of have a space to connect with other coaches who were just getting started. So Connie and Kelly of Coaching Corner and I created a Slack channel. It's about 150 coaches worldwide, and it's predominantly online, but I'm lucky to be in New York and a lot of people pass through here. So I like to organize happy hours and coffees. And so we usually get together at least once every month or every 2 months, like whenever someone's coming through. I am part of the Old Girls Club, which is another online community, but we have a huge base of women in New York. And so I've gotten quite involved there, planning programmed events like panels around like specific themes. Last month was financial wellness. And then like casual events like coffee meetups once a month. We have one on Friday. And it's great because like that's been like another source of like coworkers that I get to like chat with. And then the last one is this other PM consultant and I have kind of built out a product leadership breakfast series. So mostly once a month, we'll meet and gather people to kind of talk about what's going on in the product management space. We've started to get different companies and leaders like wanting to get involved in it. So that's been really fun. So, once every week or two, I'll be off to the city, and Todd will be like, I don't know what community you're like hosting this week, but it's been really powerful and fun for me in the absence of a traditional like co-working community, to just be driving and, creating space for people. I love holding space for like a group of people where they're connecting and lighting up.
Yeah. I'm curious, how much do your days vary right now? And in
Um,
what ways?
yeah. I don't take meetings on Mondays, which I love. That's like my new favorite
Mhm.
thing about how I work. And then I have a couple of different engagements right now. So I'm teaching at Cornell Tech. So my Fridays now are going to be teaching. And then I have a couple other engagements where I have standing meetings, every week. But other than that, they change quite a bit. My coaching hours are set, so I don't let people
Mm.
book outside of certain times. I used to
Mhm.
like do it whenever people wanted, and I realized
Whenever you want, I'm here.
that wasn't good for me. So I'm like, here are my bounds, and I will
Yeah.
break those if I need to. But I don't do it often. And like that's been really helpful. So it's more like just having guardrails around when I want to actually take meetings. Work wise,
Yeah.
I work whenever.
Yeah, I like it. It's almost like bookends of
Exactly.
here's what works for me and my energy with the elements. And then I like that part too, that this insight about, okay, in-person connections give me like a lot of energy. And I specifically like them in the morning, like starting my day with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's come up.
Yeah, and then it energizes me for the day, and then, like, I can have
Mm,
some downtime in the afternoons and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How does this differ, if at all, from a future day?
I think from a future day, hopefully it's not too different. I think, I don't know. I think it's probably not that different. I think there's
Mm,
probably a bit more routine around, or maybe a bit more structure around when I'm actually taking coaching calls. I think
mhm,
even 3.5 days a week, because I take them Tuesday through Friday mornings, like being more rigid about that. I think having like a full Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday without video calls is like really important for me. So that's my aim. Right now, I'm not there yet. Um, so I think, yeah, I think the computer is like it enables my business, and I
it's a
also don't think
tool.
I'm meant to spend my entire life like typing away on a computer. So it's a conflict for me. And so I think a future day, I'm on my computer less,
Mhm.
more strategic ways versus like kind of always being on, and, just having better boundaries around it.
Yeah, what I hear is more flexibility around it. And I'm
Yes.
wondering from that like past like February 7th day, how do the elements come into play in the future? How
Mm.
would you love it to come into play?
I would love to have more nature in my life. We are lucky to live in New York, and we live like an hour and a half from really good hiking. And a couple
Mm,
weeks ago, we actually said, okay, Friday, we're going on a hike day. And it was for my husband's birthday. And we were just like, why don't we plan these like more? Like, we could easily do
yeah,
this
yeah,
like
yeah.
every
Mhm,
one Friday a month. So I think having more intentionality, is that a word?
mhm,
Around like nature
mhm,
days. Travel is
mm,
really important to me. So being able to get out of a city. I love New York, but it can be a lot. So like
mhm.
creating space and time to get out of the city, get into nature, just different places is really, really important to me. So in the future, I think baking that in beyond just walking outside and getting sun, being in nature, I think is very rejuvenating.
Yeah, I just went on, I think I told you about this forest meditation retreat where someone just Instagrammed me and said, there's an event, it's free. And I was like, what a deal. I don't know who you are.
And
Let's go. And I brought a friend, so it made it a little safer.
yeah,
And it was an hour away, and we spent like 5 hours in nature. I went barefoot. We did
so
like
cool.
breath work and, like different playful exercises with strangers. That sounds weird. More like improv movement stuff.
Yeah,
And as someone who's such a city person, like my idea of nature is a tree and cement, and I'm like, I'm good. Turns out it actually feels really good
yeah,
to be more immersed. So
yeah,
I hear you on that.
yeah.
And that same thought of, oh, why don't I do this more?
Yeah. And you have to be intentional about it. Cause I think especially,
Mm,
I think whether you're working for yourself or not, like the day can get away from you, the week can get away from you. And
yeah.
I think setting like a monthly, we're going to go to the beach. We have beaches out here. I'm from Chicago, so like
Hmm.
the beach is really different than it is here. The beach, or like go upstate and go hiking. Like you have to plan those things, and you have to like really like put your guards up and say, yeah, I'm really going to hold on to this. I'm not going to overrun it.
Mm,
Working for yourself, I think that's harder because like it's so easy to be like, well, I'll just like take this meeting on a Monday, even though I said I'm not going to do, Monday meetings. So it's like a lot of self-restraint.
yeah, I think that's really interesting is when I had a boss, it would be like if someone told me take this meeting Friday evening, I'd be like, "Excuse me?
Yeah. Yeah.
With this salary?" No, I'm just kidding. But it would be like, "How dare you?" Versus now I'm like, "Well, actually, I'm in charge of making that decision."
Yeah.
And what you talked about in setting those boundaries, I think that's actually a really interesting topic is I end up working like way harder when it's for myself,
Hmm.
as you do too.
Hmm.
You work tremendously hard.
Hmm. Yeah. It's a lot easier to say no when it's someone else's goals and visions and you're on
Mhm.
a salary, but like when you are the one that's driving everything, and I'm like a very hyper vigilant person. My work ethic, like I could keep my heads down, and just kind of grind, but that's not always the best case
Yeah.
scenario. And I've written about this. So it's like, how to create and hold your boundaries has like been a really interesting exercise in this whole solopreneur journey.
Yeah, I think that's a thing that we could easily do another talk about.
Totally.
We
I'm like
will.
thinking of that now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then movement and dancing and Beyoncé, maybe it's cowboy in the future.
Hmm.
Um, that's
Hmm.
not the full name, but what do you envision with movement and, like, your future life?
Yeah, I think just continuing to make it a priority. I think like
Mm,
when I'm going through hard times, my family will always be like, just go to a dance class. Like, what I mean? Like, just like, I think making dance part of my routine, continuing to make strength training part of my routine. I have a yoga studio I really love. Just continuing to prioritize it, even on the days that you don't feel like it. I've never really
mm,
come out of a workout feeling worse. And it's not,
yeah,
like
yeah.
grew up in like diet and like exercise culture. Like it's really all about improving my mental health. So just continuing to like get on the bike, go to the class. Last week like it was pouring rain here in New York. It was such an awful day. And I like forced myself to like a hip hop class and like
Mm,
always feel better. So I think it's just continuing
yeah.
to like trust, even on the days you don't want to go, that like it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I hear that. I recently wrote yesterday in yesterday's newsletter about leaving voice notes to myself, which I leave
I
Jori a
love,
ton. Imagine
I
that I
love
even like
that.
do it to myself. And I have one actually, so this resonates with what you're saying of like, Sarah, you always feel better after working out. Like, go do it. You could do
Yeah.
15 minutes,
Yeah.
but just like try this and you know, shake up your surroundings and like your headspace a little bit.
Yeah. My husband and I, like, sometimes we're just like, oh, and the other one will be like, do you want me to push you? You're going to feel better.
Mm,
You like
that's a
kind of
good
push each
question.
other. Like, do you want me to
Yeah.
push you or do you want to like make that decision on your own? And so we kind of hype each other
Mm,
up sometimes when we're feeling like, I can't imagine like getting on the spin bike right now at 6 o'clock at night. But we remind each other,
yeah.
like, you're going to feel better. Like you just do it. Just do 20 minutes. And so yeah, and I'm very curious about salsa dancing. I'm just gonna say that
Mm,
out loud. I
for
wanna,
everyone.
yeah, like I wanna just explore that.
Yeah.
That's maybe in my future too.
Yeah. Maybe it will be. I was like, I don't know. I immediately put you on stage. It's something for yourself too.
Yeah.
But salsa dancing, especially in New York.
I there's like I'm a TikTok person and there's like these really cool like improv like salsa dancing where people just kind of
Yeah.
choreograph randomly and they can go and like
Yeah.
freestyle
It's
and I'm
so
like
cool.
I just want to learn how to do that. That looks so fun. So that's like a future goal. I don't even know what it's called. If it's just like ballroom and like you,
Is it salsa or is it West Coast swing?
I don't know. Like
I think it's
someone tell me so I can do it.
because I fell in love with West Coast swing from seeing TikToks and then I had to delete the app. It's too much.
That's wild.
And it was like the most incredible, like playful thing. The music was good. They were playing
Maybe, yeah.
Neo.
I need to someone tell me so I can go take a class somewhere, because like I'm really interested in getting involved there.
Yeah. Where it is, what it's called, if it's West Coast Swing, maybe post the video. And then if someone can identify what it is.
I gotta go find it on TikTok.
Yeah, crowdsource it. Okay. And I want to throw you one last question.
Yeah.
Which is, what are you wearing in your future day? What do you want to wear?
What am I wearing in my future day? I think I have like a general aspiration to always just like be more minimalist, like fewer pieces, but like nicer pieces, which is, you know, I think a goal all of us have. I gravitate towards like glitter and sparkly and feathers and like sequins, but like I believe that like people look cheaper with just like a crisp like white button down and like full ripped jeans. So that's an internal conflict. I think it's a mixture of the two. It's having like a really solid base wardrobe of that stuff, and then like having really cool accent pieces. Because I don't want to repress that part of myself that like wants to wear feathers on a random Tuesday.
Yeah. Oh, I want you to wear feathers.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
And Jori, I'm sure so many people are listening. So many people. Tell people how they can reach out to you, find out more about what you do, and what do you have coming up? Because you do so many things that people can be a part of.
Yeah. So I think like the thing I'm most excited about right now is I'm going to be doing a free workshop April 30th. Since I've been on this journey, leaving product management in a corporate capacity, I've had so many people reach out to me and try and get support and tips and tricks. And I haven't really had the time to like put something together for them. So I'm really excited to like host this free workshop and scale.
So valuable.
Yeah. Like I think it's something both of us could have used when we started. And so I'm really excited in preparing for all of it. It just feels really fun to talk about. So I'm really excited for that. That's kind of like the big thing that I'm going to be doing this month in like 20 days. It's April 10th. Yeah.
It's April 10th already. Okay.
Yeah.
And you can reach out to Jori on LinkedIn. And you can also find her website.
Yes.
joribell.com.
Yes.
As well. And then keep an eye out for that talk. As someone who, you know, we both get lots of questions, like 2 or 3 a day sometimes, of like, how do you build your business? I'd love to hear about your journey. Like, do you have any suggestions? How do I find clients? How do I find like my offerings, my services? Do I need to build what? So many questions, right? That we hear all the time. This talk is super valuable of here's Jori's experience, how she's built this herself and the learnings that she's taken away, those key strategies. So tune in April 30th for that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then I will say, I'm really excited to share what I'm excited about is authentic. So authentic, because I love a pun. I was an English major. And this is for you if you're a woman in tech and you're at a crossroads and you're navigating some kind of transition. This is to do it in community and celebration with other people.
We lost our voice.
Not yelling.
Recovery time. Yeah.
So excited. I created the Slack channel the other day and already like people are contributing and like sending adorable pet pictures and more than that, like providing support to each other. So if you're curious about it, message me. You can do it on LinkedIn. Message me the word, let's say party. I'm feeling party today.
Love that.
Yeah. Okay. Jori, thank you for coming and doing this live stream, experimenting with it with me. And I'm sure we'll talk right after this.
We will. Thanks for having me. This was so fun. Excited to do it one day.
We will. Okay. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.